Good morning, Artie. How are things today? It looks like we've got bear for breakfast. Well, welcome back. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to make a jade whistle. First, we're going to start off with something that I like to call erasing. So we're going to take this blue corn project that I was working on, and we are going to erase it. So I do have multiple things that I can work with to carve the jade. For these sorts of things, I like the Fordham. It has a lot of torque, a lot of power, and the hand pieces are replaceable. So it's a much less expensive option than the NSK 500. So last time we did a jade bead, and I showed you how to go ahead and drill a hole by hand. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to use an old Covington wet lapidary drill to drill our hole. I have marked the approximate center of the whistle, and we're going to make a starting indentation so that the diamond drill bit can catch. So what I've done is using the burr, I've made a little bit of a V notch that'll allow the drill bit to catch without vibrating and wobbling all over the place. So this is a single speed drill motor. However, I've got it hooked up to a variable rheostat on my right hand side. The rheostat is something that I picked up from Amazon.com, and it's much cheaper than the rheostat that you can purchase from large name companies. When you're drilling holes, you don't want to apply a lot of pressure. You just want to go ahead and apply steady rocking pressure. When you're drilling holes, you don't want to apply a lot of pressure. You just want to go ahead and apply steady rocking pressure. Once the bit gets completely into the jade, you can apply a little bit more pressure and increase your speed a little bit. So I'm filming this all in real time so you can get an idea of just exactly how fast this is going. And my water cut out. But that's okay, it'll come back on here in a second. It always does. And we've got water flowing again. So the bit is pretty much all the way in. I'm going to increase the motor speed a little bit. The vise is also something that I picked up on Amazon.com. So far it has worked pretty flawlessly. I've not gotten any secondary rusting. I do put a little bit of oil on it just to keep the screw gear from seizing up. Just need some more. You will want to back it out every once in a while just to get any excess dust and sludge out of the hole. take your burr and grind it in and make it stop. So we've stopped drilling now. Our depth is right about at 1 inch. That drill was a little bit underpowered for this job, but I did want to show it to you as an option for drilling holes. I've got several other options that I will show you at a later date. So pretty much we're going to start with my smallest core here. So we've pretty much reached the functional throw on this bit, and we're just about right at the length where I want to be. I may decide to take it a little bit further, but I want to go ahead and have this part here be solid jade because that's for a project down the road that I'm going to show you as well. One of the things that I've done with this bit is I've actually got it seated further outside the bottom of the chuck jaws. This gives me a longer throw on the bit itself. The problem with that is it does lead to more wobble. So you do have to go in and occasionally retighten that bit in place. So we've moved up to the next larger size bit. You can see how fast it goes when we're just expanding the hole. So I pretty much reached the length of this bit. As we can see, it's right at maybe 1.5 inches or so. One of the things you'll notice is that the hole is slightly off center. That's actually good for the project that we're going to do, but I will also show you how to recenter this hole as well. So the next step that we're going to do to increase the diameter and the depth of this hole is this series of round 120 grit ball burr bits. So starting with the smallest bit size that doesn't fit, when you start to feel the stone and the bit heat up, that's when you start backing off. If you keep pushing it, then that's where you're going to heat up that bit to the point where it's going to start delaminating, and that's just going to tear the diamonds right off. So I'm on the final round burr that I'm using. So we've got the whistle blank hollowed out. It is pretty much smooth on the outside. It's smooth on the inside. We will want to go in and smooth it down a little bit more. The smoother you can make the inside, the better the final sound will be. One of the things you can do to check to see if you're at that point to start cutting the cross windway is to go ahead and hold the whistle up to your lips and blow across the hole, and you will hear a whistling sound. So you know you're at that stage where it's time to start cutting. There's a lot of interesting physics associated with whistles. One of the things you'll want to do before you start actually cutting the windway is hold the whistle in your mouth as if you're going to blow it and see where your lips are going to end up. You want to go ahead and cut your windway in front of that. You don't want your lips covering the windway hole itself. So what I've done is I've marked where my lips are going to hit. I'm going to find an area that's relatively thin. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make a line like this. And then we are going to cut an angle out approximately 45 degrees to that. So one of the things you're going to want to go ahead and make if you decide to start jade carving is a magnetic pickup, because you're going to drop a lot of stuff, and getting up and down off of the bench chair is kind of a pain. So you can just do that, pick up your lost piece, and it saves you from getting up and down off of the chair a lot. So I put a flat burr. I think some people call this a T-burr because it kind of looks like a T. And we're going to cut a hole, a slot that is perpendicular to the body of the whistle itself. So we have a perpendicular slot, and cut a 45-degree. There we go. Okay, so we've cut our windway. You can see that we've got a pretty good smooth cut here. There's a small notch in this corner that's going to have to be smoothed out, and a small notch in this corner. You will notice that I am slightly off center with the main hole. That's not going to present a problem. So I don't really need to worry about trying to move that over at all. And the whistle's going to sound just as good with it the way it is. We do want to make sure that this edge here is as finely polished and smooth and sharp as possible, because that's going to really play a huge role in how this whistle sounds at the end. So I'm going to start smoothing the windway with a sintered burr bit. These are real nice for your finishing projects because they really create a much smoother surface than the diamond sintered bits. I don't know if you can see it real well, but there is a white rim right at the edge, and I want to polish that away. That white rim is rough compared to the rest of the jade. So we are going to polish that down very gently. You can see that pretty much that's gone. So after gray comes the blue. And you blow your AC. So for this next part, we're going to be using only sintered bits because I want the inside to be as smooth as possible. And from left to right, we're going to use red, gray, blue, and black as our final. Okay, so we've taken this up to a 400 grit on the outside. I've gone ahead and smoothed down the windway, so we've got a nice sharp windway. And I went ahead and just barely shaped the end of it where the mouthpiece is. So the next step is finishing this off. You can either leave it as it is. This is kind of a rough buff. You can take this up to a higher buff, or you can polish it all the way. You could also go ahead and add some textures or designs to it. So there is some debate among jade carvers as to whether you should leave your jade as a high buff and not do a polish. Some people say that polishing hides imperfections. In my opinion, it doesn't matter, especially if you're making it for your own use. I like bright and shiny things, so I am going to take this up to a higher buff polish. And we're done. So the next step is installing our wind block. For this, I use craft foam, and basically you want the end of the craft foam to be right at the perpendicular cut that you made. So you're going to put it in like that, and you want it at an angle going up, and you can see that it's just about where it needs to be. And then you can test the whistle. As you can see, it works. We have a nice loud whistle. I did test this before we got to this stage, and it will produce a maximum of 106 decibels. So here's the final product. all done. Wind block is in place. I hope you all enjoy it and have a great week.